We are tracking for you this afternoon is the MPC. Local economists, of course, and market analysts believing the Reserve Bank is likely to cut interest rates by 25 basis points when it announces its decision this afternoon. In fact, any moment now at 3 p.m. The bank's Monetary Policy Committee has been meeting since Tuesday. My colleague Nompumelelo Sibiza is in studio and, of course, will be taking you through all of these developments. Good afternoon to you, Nompu. Of course, a lot of anticipation as to will it be a 25 points cut, or can we be that optimistic, in fact, and hope for a 50 basis point cut, which I likely doubt.
Thanks very much, Inati. Well, the bet that the market has is that we're going to get a 25 basis point cut. And this is all the more a reality now that the US Federal Reserve decided to cut rates by a whopping 50 basis points. Everyone was, there was a lot of argument as to whether it would be 25 or 50 basis points. But they went the aggressive route. Apparently, they're concerned about the labor market there, and therefore they decided to go down that route to ensure that they avoid the US economy going into a recession. As a result, our local Reserve Bank is likely to cut rates by 25 basis points. It's very unlikely that they'll go the 50 basis points route because there are still some risks. Upward risk to the inflation outlook. And of course, we know that our Reserve Bank, under the leadership of Lisisha Khanyago, has tended to be a bit more hawkish. So the expectation is a 25 basis point cut. Of course, if this happens, this will bring much needed relief to heavily indebted consumers and businesses. 25 basis points, it might not make that massive a difference, but the expectation is that this will be the beginning of a rate cutting cycle, which means that there's an expectation that come November, there'll be another rate cut. There is a debate as to whether that will be 25 basis points or 50 basis points. But I think what will be important for us will be for us to listen to the governor and hear what his tone is. If it's still a hawkish tone and he's still flagging a lot of inflation, upward inflation risks, then chances are at the next meeting, it will be another 25 basis point cut. This will be very positive, though, because the cumulative cuts will definitely make an impact with people who have high interest on their bonds, on their car loans and other loans. So it's going to make a huge difference to both consumers and businesses.
And I mean, Nompu, you raise interesting points there. One of the things that we know during this time, especially, people want to know, what does it mean for me and my bottom line? We've seen, of course, high food prices, high fuel prices. The fuel is coming down, though, which is good news. But just give us a sense in terms of just the experts that you've been speaking to about what it really means, for the layman, if these interest rates cuts become lower.
Yeah, so basically, if you're paying less on your loans, your key loans, like your bond and your car, and say you have a bond for your home and your car, it means that you're going to be paying less on both. What does that do? It frees up your pocket. You have a bit more money in your pocket, and that then means that you can either save or go out and spend a bit more. And also you can mitigate against the increases that we're experiencing. I mean, just in July now, the municipalities had to push through a higher electricity tariff. And the municipalities not only push through nurses' approved rate, but they put a bit on top, so we pay that much more. Here in the Johannesburg city, of course, we're having to pay that extra 200 Rand if you're on a prepaid meter. And of course, people are very upset about that. So there are continuing inflation pressures. You touched on food. We did see in the August print that food inflation and non-alcoholic beverages, they did tick up a little bit. They're still below 5%, but still a concern. We know that we had the issue of El Nino, that is dry weather conditions, which led to a situation whereby the crops were affected and, of course, putting some upward pressure on the likes of the maize price. Runati?
Of course, it's a minute before the MPC, and we will take our viewers as soon as that begins. Nompu, let me squeeze this one in while we're waiting. I mean, yesterday's inflation data from Stats SA showing that a drop of 4.4% in August, down from 4.6% in July. Just give us a little bit of a sense in terms of your analysis on what that means.
Yes, so the Reserve Bank has a target band or a target range that is 3 to 6%. With inflation coming in at 4.4%, that has actually gone below the midpoint of the target. So that's good news. The big question, of course, will be, will that be sustained? So we wait and see whether that's going to be sustained. But if we continue to see inflation tracking downwards, as it has for the last 3 consecutive months, then obviously that's going to bode well for further interest rate cuts.